My name is Ray. Several years ago, my wife asked me to write a bridge game that could explain the reasoning behind each bid. She wanted to learn bridge and had tried several computer bridge games. She often found that the game's explanation of a bid did not match the hand she held. It seemed as if the game had some predefined explanations saying one thing, while internally it used slightly different values to actually decide the bid. So I wrote a game that bids according to a set of rules. These rules are stored in a plain text file that is separate from the game. The rules are formatted in XML to make it easier for the game to read them from the file. The game has an editor for you to read and change the rules. You can change them to make them bid any way you wish. The game can also read the rules. The game can follow the rules to bid just as you can. You can watch the game as it steps through the rules, making its bid. How does having the bidding system written down in a set of rules address the question of why the game makes a particular bid? The game can extract information by reverse engineering a player's bid. That is, after a player bids, their partner can locate the bid in the rules and work backward to reveal the information the bidder must have considered in making that particular bid. The game's response to why a bid was made is the information the game derived from reviewing the bid. We'll see an example that will make this clear. The rules that come with the game are based on standard American yellow card. They are not complete. They bid at possibly a low intermediate level. They know the basics of the opening bid, first response, second bid, second response, and third bid. They also know a little about bidding and responding after a fit is either found or denied. The rules can bid some hands to slam. However, there are some lines of bidding that the rules do not know, and the rules only know Stayman, Jacoby, and Roman keycard Blackwood conventions. So there is still more to be added to the bidding rules before they are complete. Anyone is free to write their own set of rules. Although the rules that come with the game are based on standard American yellow card, you can write rules to model any bidding system. The game understands step bids, so you can model relay systems also. You can use the set of rules that comes with the game as a starting point, or you can start from scratch. Either way, whatever you create is yours to do with as you like. You can download the game for free from raysbridgegame.com. There is only one file that needs to be downloaded, raysbb.jar. The file size is less than 3 meg. The game is written in Java, so you must have Java installed on your computer. In this presentation, we will first look at the contents of the game's main screen and some basic controls. Then we will see an example of how the game bids. Let's take a quick tour of the game's main screen. There are 5 types of panels on the main screen and 1 associated window. For a description of these panels, select Help in the menu bar and then select General Help. From the Help window, select Main Screen. This help page contains a short description of each panel. Clicking on the panel name brings up more information. Clicking on the yellow @ sign causes the panel to blink its border. The panels are the Control panel, the Player panels, the Rule Set panel, the Game panel, the Bids panel, and the Info window. Let's look at the Rule Set panel. The top line contains 3 user preferences: other players' cards. The bottom seat always has their cards shown. The cards of the other three players may be shown, hidden, or inferred. Having the cards shown is good for studying a deal. Having the cards hidden is good for practicing your bidding. We'll look at having the cards inferred later. To begin this demonstration, the cards will be shown. Rules used. This preference is not used in bidding. It is used during play of the hand. At bottom, player south is in the bottom seat. You can rotate the seats to view the deal from another player's perspective. Following the preferences, there are 6 lines showing the rules that the players use. The first line shows the name and file name of the set of bidding rules that North and South are using. The second line shows the name of the configuration North and South are using. The configuration lists the bidding conventions and preferences supported. The third line shows the name and file name of the set of playing rules that North and South are using. The last 3 lines show the same information for East and West. Both partnerships use the same sets of bidding and playing rules because there is only one set of rules of each. The game panel shows that South dealt. In the player panel, South's name is in italics, indicating it is their turn to bid. Now let's look at the control panel. There are 2 ways a player can bid. The rules can bid for them, or you can make a manual bid. To let the rules bid for South, left-click on South's bid. Take back South's bid by clicking on the left arrow. To manually bid for South, click on Manual Bid. A Make Bid for South window pops up. You can select any bid that is not grayed out. Take back South's bid. You can always make a manual bid for the player in the bottom seat. You can only bid for another player if other players' cards is set to show. Next, let's look at the info window. The first time you run the game, the info window is placed here, but you can move it anywhere you want. For this demonstration, I am going to move it here so that I can stretch it a bit. You can put the window back by clicking Info Window in the menu bar and selecting Restore Window to Default Location. You can hide the window by unselecting Show Info Window. The title of the info window is South's View of North's Hand. The contents are North has not bid. Let South bid. South bids 1 spade. The title of the info window is West's View of East's Hand. The contents are East has not bid. Let West bid. West passes. The title of the info window is North's View of South's Hand. The contents are South's 1 spade means 12 to 21 point count, 5 or more spades. Partnership has 29 to 38 point count, 6 or more spades. The info window shows what North thinks that South's bid means in terms of points and suit lengths. It also shows what North thinks that the partnership has after adding North's points and suit lengths. North bids 2 clubs, East passes. It is South's second bid. South now knows something about North's hand. South bids 2 hearts, West passes. North now has information from 2 bids. North bids 3 hearts, East passes. South has a good idea of the partnership's potential. South uses Blackwood convention. South bids 4 no trump. West passes. North responds to South's Blackwood request. North bids 5 clubs. East passes. South bids 6 hearts. Everyone passes. Let's go back to South's opening bid. Click the left arrow to bar. Why did South bid 1 spade on their first bid? We can examine South's logic by tracing South's bid. First, though, let's look at a little background information about the bidding rules. Right-click on the name of either partnership's bidding rules to edit them. The editor's right panel contains available commands. The left panel shows the groups into which the rules are divided. There are 3 types of groups: main groups, assessments, and counters. At the moment, the editor is showing the main groups. A main group is a group of rules that makes a bid. Left-click on the group opening the bidding to edit it. When a player is thinking about opening the bidding, there are 11 different bids to choose from in the main group opening the bidding. Each bid is made only after at least 1 or more tests have been performed, all of the tests being resolved as positive. A phrase in italics is a reference to an assessment. An assessment is a group of rules that reaches either a positive or negative conclusion regarding some statement about the player or their hand. Left-click on the assessment "You have a poor hand" to edit it. The assessment starts with a comment explaining what is considered to be a poor hand. Next, it uses another assessment to set the value of the counter point count. A counter is a group of rules that stores a numerical value. The value of a counter can be set by rules in the counter itself or by a rule in an assessment. We will see how point count is set later. Last, the rules test the value of the counter point count. Phrases in quotation marks are references to counters. On the first test, if point count is 11 or less, a positive conclusion is reached. When an assessment reaches a conclusion, either positive or negative, the assessment ends there. The game returns to the rules that call the assessment, passing to those rules the true or false result of the assessment. If the assessment does not reach a conclusion, the assessment returns false by default. If point count is exactly 12, another test must be found true before reaching a conclusion. If the game does not reach any of the 3 conclusions, the assessment returns false by default. Quit, you have a poor hand. We are back in the main group, opening the bidding. If the assessment "you have a poor hand" is true, then the player will consider whether to preempt at either the 4 or 3 level. If neither of these choices are appropriate, then a weak 2 bid will be considered. If none of the 3 paths are chosen, a player with a poor hand will pass by default. How does the game know when to use opening the bidding? For each main group, there is an assessment of the same name. This associated assessment is called a selector. A selector contains rules which specify the conditions under which a main group should be used. To edit the selector, click on the name of the main group. The selector is very simple and straightforward. If no one has opened the bidding, the player should use the group opening the bidding. If someone has already opened the bidding, the player should consider another main group. Quit the selector opening the bidding. Quit the main group opening the bidding. Quit the set of rules. Now let's see why South bid won spade on their first bid by tracing South's bid. Right-click on South's bid to trace it. This is the tracer. The right panel contains tracing commands. The left panel lists the rule set's selectors in the order the writer of the rules arranged them. The game runs each selector in order until a true selector is found. Then the main group with the same name as the selector is used to bid. The next selector to be tested is highlighted in green. The right panel contains the command run or trace next selector. Left-clicking on the command causes the game to run the selector. Right-clicking on the command causes the game to trace the selector. For this presentation, I will use run selector and the name of the selector to mean left-click, trace selector and the name of the selector to mean right-click. The first selector is just a header and contains no rules. Run selector 1, opening bid. The first selector is now grayed out. It was tested, and since there were no rules in it, found to be false by default. Trace selector opening the bidding. This is the selector opening the bidding. A variable settings window has been opened. This window shows the values of suit variables, level variables, and counters that the player South knows. This selector contains only one rule. That rule makes only one test. The rule tests the assessment the bidding has not been opened, and, if it is true, reaches a true conclusion. The assessment is highlighted in green because it will be true. If the next test will be false, it will be highlighted in red. The right panel of the tracer contains several pieces of information in addition to commands to run the tracer. At the top is information about the bid, the name of the player, and which bid they are making, the player who opened the bidding, or the bidding has not been opened, the name of the rule set being used to bid, the name of the file where the rule set is stored, the name of the selector or main group being traced. It will be blank if neither of those groups is being traced. Following those 5 pieces of information, the right panel displays the commands to run the tracer. The commands are tailored for the next rule to be executed. Following the commands, the panel shows information about the next rule to be executed. First, the line number of the rule in the rule set file. Then, information about the rule. There are 7 types of bidding rules. Rules that perform a test. If the next rule to be executed is a test, the panel will show what the result of the test will be, true or false. Following the result, information about the test is shown. A rule can perform 2 types of tests. It can test whether an assessment returns true or false, or it can perform a simple test of comparing 2 values. If the rule tests an assessment, the assessment's conclusion will be shown. If the assessment has comments, the first comment will be shown. If the rule is a simple test, the values that will be used to make the test are shown. This information can be especially useful on tests where numbers are involved. Rules that call an assessment. The right panel shows no additional information. Rules that set a suit or level preference. The actual suit name to which the suit variable will be set is shown. The numerical value to which the level variable will be set is shown. Rules that set a counter's value. The value used to make the setting is shown, and the final value of the counter being set. Rules that state a conclusion. The right panel shows no additional information. Rules that make a bid, the right panel shows no additional information. Rules that make a comment, the right panel shows no additional information. The next test to be executed is a call to an assessment. The note in the right panel says the test will be true and gives the conclusion the assessment will reach. The bidding has not been opened. The assessment had no comments. When the next rule to be executed is an assessment, the right panel will contain the command run or trace the assessment. Left-clicking on the command causes the game to run the assessment. Right-clicking causes the game to trace the assessment. For the rest of this presentation, I will use run and the name of the assessment to mean left-click, trace, the name of the assessment, to mean right-click. Trace, the bidding has not been opened. This is the assessment, the bidding has been opened. Recall that in the selector, the assessment was referred to as the bidding has not been opened. That was because the action to be taken by the rule in the selector was conditional upon this assessment returning false. This assessment contains only one rule. It is a simple test. The left side of the test is the value of the phrase, anyone opened the bidding. The comparison to be made is. The value to be tested against is yes. If any one of the players has opened the bidding, the value of the phrase anyone opened the bidding will be yes, and the test will be true, and the assessment will reach a positive conclusion. If, as in this case, no one has opened the bidding, the value of the phrase anyone opened the bidding will be no, and the test will be false. Since this is the only rule in the assessment will end without reaching any conclusion and will return false by default. Perform the test. Return to selector. We are back in the selector, opening the bidding. The test, the bidding has not been opened, was true. We have reached a positive conclusion to this selector. Accept the conclusion. Return to list of selectors. We are back in the list of selectors. The second selector was true and is now highlighted in blue. The main group opening the bidding will be used to make the bid. Trace main group. We are testing the main group. We are tracing the main group opening the bidding. The first test in the group tests the assessment, you were dealt a slam. It is highlighted in red because it will be false. The right panel shows this as line 12 in the rules file. The first comment in the assessment, you were dealt a slam, is shown. It says you need 12 or 13 sure tricks. South has 3, all in spades. Run, you were dealt a slam. The next rule calls the assessment, you have a poor hand. It will be false. South has too many points for this assessment to be true. Notice that the value of the counter point count is 0. Run, you have a poor hand. Point count has changed. An assessment was run while evaluating you have a poor hand, which set the value of the counter point count. Point count will retain the value of 17 until changed by a rule in another assessment. The next rule calls the assessment, your hand is suitable for no trump. It will be false. Looking at South's distribution in the main screen shows why this assessment will be false. Run, your hand is suitable for no trump. The next rule calls you have a strong hand. It will be false. South does not have enough points to make this assessment true. Run, you have a strong hand. The next rule calls you have a good hand with a biddable suit. This assessment will be true. Trace, you have a good hand with a biddable suit. This is the assessment, you have a good hand with a biddable suit. Read the comment. This assessment has one rule with 2 tests, ending in a positive conclusion. The assessment, you have a good hand, will return true. Then the assessment, you have a biddable suit, will be tested. If it returns true, this assessment will reach a true conclusion. If the assessment, you have a good hand, had been false, execution would have stopped there, and you have a good hand with a biddable suit would have returned false by default. Trace, you have a good hand. This is the assessment, you have a good hand. Read the comment. The next rule in this assessment is a use statement, which simply causes an assessment to be run. It does not matter whether the assessment returns true or false. The assessment is being run just to have it set the counter point count. Trace, set point count to high card count plus short suits. This is the assessment, set point count to high card count plus short suits. The first rule is a set statement. It is setting the counter point count to high card count. The total high card count is 15. Set the counter. Point count changed from 17 to 15. The next rule will be false. The shortest suit, diamonds, has 1 card. Perform the test. The next rule will be true. Perform the test. Execution has reached the end of this rule. It ends in a set statement setting the value of point count by adding 2 points, making it 17. Set the counter. The rest of the rules will be false. Run to end of page or trace. Return to calling assessment. We are back in the assessment, you have a good hand. The next rule is true and leads to a true conclusion. Perform the test. Accept the conclusion. Return to calling assessment. We are back in the assessment. You have a good hand with a biddable suit. Trace, you have a biddable suit. This is the assessment. You have a biddable suit. Read the comment. Perform the test. The next rule sets the Boolean variable best suit to your longest suit, in this case, spades. Set the variable. Best suit has been set in the variable settings window. Accept the conclusion. Return to calling assessment. We are back in the assessment. You have a good hand with a biddable suit. A true conclusion was reached. Accept the conclusion. Return to main group. We are back in the main group, opening the bidding. The next rule makes a bid of one of best suit. Best suit was set to spades. Make the bid. In trace. South has bid one spade, and it is West's turn to bid. West passes. It is North's turn. The title of the info window is North's view of South's hand. As we saw earlier, the info window shows the information that North gleaned from South's bid of one spade. Where did North get this information? It was gathered in a process called the bid review. After South made their bid, North performed a bid review. That is, North examined the bidding rules and found the rules South must have used to make their bid. North then traveled back along the path leading to the bid to discover the values South must have in order to have made that particular bid. Since the bidding system is supposed to be known to both partnerships, North can share this information with the other players anytime they request it. The info window also shows North's view of the partnership's holdings. This view is made by the reviewer adding their values to those of the bidder. The bid review process does not lend itself to being traced, but it does save its work so that you may look at it after the process is done. Let's go back to South's opening bid. Click the left arrow to bar. Left click makes South bid. Right click traces South bid. Control right click makes South bid and shows the results of the bid review. This is the bid review reviewer. Let's skip the selectors and simply note that the bid review correctly determined that South used the main group opening the bidding. Show main group. All of opening the bidding is grayed out except the last line. Click on the next to last bid, 2 clubs. It is grayed out because this bid was not made. Partner did not bid 2 clubs. Click on the last bid. Partner could have made this bid if best suit was set to spades. Click on You have a good hand with a biddable suit. This is You have a good hand with a biddable suit. Select the conclusion. The right panel shows what the conclusion being true must mean. Click on You have a good hand. This is You have a good hand. Select the conclusion. The right panel shows what the conclusion being true must mean. Return. We are back in You Have a Good Hand with a biddable suit. Click on You Have a Biddable Suit. This is You Have a Biddable Suit. Select the first conclusion. Check the right panel. Select the setting of best suit which precedes the first conclusion. Check the right panel. Select the second conclusion. Check the right panel. Select the setting of best suit which precedes the second conclusion, and check the right panel. Return. We are back in You Have a Good Hand with a biddable suit. Return. We are back in the main group, opening the bidding. Quit. Now let's see what happens when you change the rules. Let's edit the bidding rule set again. The editor is showing the main groups of the rule set. Change showings to Assessments. Scroll down to You Have a Good Hand. We saw this assessment being used while tracing South's bid. Edit it by left-clicking on it. Change the point range to 16 to 21. Quit. I do not want to save this change, but the game will use this change while the rule set is still in the editor. Restart the bidding. Let South bid. Let West bid. Now, North thinks that the one spade bid means South has at least 16 points. And by the change just made in the rules, it actually does mean that. Or else South could not have made the bid. Plus, we saw that South has 17 points counting short suits. Go back to the editor. Quit. Quit. That change is now gone. The game has reloaded the rules from File. Restart the bidding. Let South bid. Let West bid. North's evaluation of South bid is now back to 12 to 21 points. But what happens when you make a manual bid? Restart the bidding. Make a manual bid for South of 2 clubs. Let West bid. North thinks South's bid means South has 22 or more points. North still performs a bid review on a manual bid. However, there is not a way to show the results in a bid review pop-up as with the rules bidding. Adding the bid review pop-up is on my list of improvements for the game. But there is another place that at least shows a little about how North reviewed the bid. In the control panel, following Review, click on Bidding. This is the review bidding window. West's bid is being shown. Click on the Preview button. Scroll down. This shows a little about how North reviewed South's bid. Let's bid the deal again. This time let the cards be inferred. South bids 1 spade, West passes. Notice that the contents of the info window no longer include partnership values, except for the bottom seat, South. When the cards are not being shown, that information is private. North's bid of 2 clubs shows 4 or more clubs. North's bid of 3 hearts shows 4 or more hearts. I hope you enjoyed this look at how Ray's bridge game bids a hand. Thank you for letting me show it to you. You can download the game for free from raysbridgegame.com. The game is written in Java, so you must have Java installed on your computer.